General, the people are on edge. Violence is breaking out over any and everything. What's worse, the media is encouraging and enabling this behavior. Sir, the country is literally on fire. And on top of it all, there are many indicators that the election was manipulated.
Enough! I did not swear an oath to serve and protect this country to sit and watch it all burn. The arsonists have kindled too many fires. It is as if somebody purposely wants the American people to suffer. All this nonsense has to stop. It's time for us to take action and de-escalate the whole situation. Sergeant, rally our best men. We need to find a way to quietly calm this whole nation down. But I want to avoid bloodshed. People on all sides are so emotionally charged they can't even think clearly for themselves. We have to calm everybody down and make sure nobody starts new fires. A few hours later. So, you're saying we should just give them what they want? That's outrageous! Not to mention illegal. But it might actually work. I have to agree with your assessment. We have to calm down all these emotionally unstable people first, because they would cause great chaos if they would learn about the truth. And we know they cannot handle the truth. Sometimes you have to tell a lie to keep children safe. Just like that one time where my little son's goldfish had to go down the toilet to meet with his family in the ocean. And this lie you have planned out will keep the whole nation safe. I think it's worth the risk. The good news is that these people are already well conditioned to believe everything they see on TV. Gentlemen, the operation plan is approved. We continue feeding them the illusions they are expecting, while our men sort out the root problem of this whole mess in the meanwhile. Our main objective is to prevent civil war, violence in the streets, and unnecessary loss of American lives. These are the marching orders. We will be positioning about 100,000 soldiers in DC at the time of the inauguration. We are going to feed the media some plausible excuse for this, or fabricate one. It's not up to me, it's up to you. Make up something good. In spite of misbehavings you might have about doing this, it has to happen, and you will make it happen. It's not our first rodeo, but it's shaping up to be our most important one. We are taking back control of this country. I have sworn an oath to support and defend the Constitution, and hell if I won't keep it. Dismissed.
General, why do we need that many troops in DC? I don't understand.
Son, that shit is way above your pay grade. Even if I told you, you wouldn't believe me nor understand. Now go, we have some peace to restore. And son, when I give you the signal, go on 4chan and vaguely write down our plans to the patriots there. They deserve to know what's happening.
Hello and welcome to another installment of real-life inspired crazy conspiracy plotlines. The story you just heard was inspired by this schizophrenic, optimistically Q-flavored fake 4chan post. It's as fake news can go. But the idea behind this is a very interesting and fresh one. A country seems to escalate more and more into chaos. But can the hero, an US Army general, bring everything back to peace and order? How will he do it? Will everybody play along? How will he deal with leaks and things that do not fit the artificial narrative? Will he silence them or simply ignore them? Ignore them because he knows that half of the people will not even consider them to be remotely true, while the other half will figure things out over time. But giving that half constant new puzzles to solve will keep them busy for as long as the operation requires. Ideally, this type of plot element would be used in stories with a core message of healing and restoration. Maybe a reverse James Bond type of plot. A world where things cool down, but the hero smells that something is off. The hero goes on a long journey collecting clues and evidence everywhere, only in the end to find out that it was indeed all well orchestrated by a higher force. An army general, or the medieval/fantasy king, or whatever. A hidden conspiracy, but with the goal of spreading peace and bringing prosperity to everybody. The opposite of a typical world domination plot. In the final scene then, the hero goes back to his home after realizing what great forces are at work and that he has little impact to impact the overall flow of events. So he comes back to his well-neglected family and gives them all a big hug. And then he becomes a role model for those around him and a shining light in his now peaceful and prospering community. The end. Why should we as humanity, a species with almost limitless imagination, always create stories with dystopian dark futures and plotlines to take over the world? Why not something positive once in a while? Okay, that's just my take on the following text. You might come up with different plotlines for sure. So, to make it a full thing, the whole 4chan post. High IQ in the know here. Here's what's actually happened since the 6th of January 2021 in the United States. First, Mike Pence he was a weak man. He is not part of the plan. Trump was counting on him to create a forum/congressional inquiry in which election fraud would be heard and presented publicly. But since that didn't work, he had to go to the military. Second, on the evening of the 6th of January, Trump quietly left DC and spent the next week presenting his case to the military. The Joint Chiefs are traitors, but the top brass really running the military in strongholds like Cheyenne Mountain are hardcore constitutionalists. Trump spent 24/7 presenting his fraud evidence, some of which the public hasn't seen, like verifiable election signatures from China, for example. Third, Trump hoped to convince the military and invoke Insurrection Act, but, as I said, these old-school military guys are hardcore constitutionalists and won't transgress it. They agreed to occupy DC and have the evidence presented in a full blown-out military court case using the SCOTUS as a front. This is the real reason they are occupying DC, to keep the environment completely under control and present interference from any party. Number 4. Believe it or not, Trump was not entirely happy with this because he wants to stay in power, but the Constitution says he needs to step down as Congress certified Biden. The military made it clear they will not support the Insurrection Act as it would cause mass instability. Number 5. On the other hand, the military has essentially set up an interim government in DC. This is why they are occupying for at least several weeks after inauguration, while the SCOTUS case, again really a front for a military tribunal, is carried out. Ground troops actually currently have no exit strategy, so it could mean the military government could go on even longer if needed. Number 6. Biden's inauguration is not legitimate until the military court is done. This is why he was denied a legitimate public inauguration on the steps of the Capitol. The people running our government still follow Masonistic/Kabbalistic rituals, and it is a big deal for a legitimate inauguration to happen on this exact spot, to be recognized by the god and the powers they worship. Number 7. Both sides think their side will prevail, but the left is trying to gaslight the nation, hoping public sentiment will eventually flip to their side and influence the proceedings. They strongly believe in the mass conscious, the consciousness of the mass, which is how they see God. So don't freak out and do not give in into demoralization. Publicize the SCOTUS case to normies and other ensuing litigation. If the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, doesn't pan out, that means the military has thrown its weight behind the deep state. But I do not expect these old-school guys to ever support the CCP-backed globalist shadow government. Too long didn't read. Military has set up an interim government and will carry out a full military court case using SCOTUS as a front. This is why they are occupying DC, and this is also why the leftists are still nervous. Trump has to step down per the Constitution, but Biden's inauguration is illegitimate. It is totally in military hands now. In the same thread, he also responded to replies from anons. I hope you found this episode inspiring. And as always, find your life's path and take action. Vital Red Pill out.